do, because we have Mary Kay, and we're going to bring Mary Kay in here in 1 sec. But the noon hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show and this interview with Mary Kay is brought to us by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, where you can score early this NFL season. Right now, brand new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is easy to use with a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSF to kick off the NFL season. That is FanDuel.com/UCSF. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And with that, let's welcome in Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer, Cleveland.com, who always joins us on Tuesdays with the latest on the Cleveland Browns.
Mary Kay, good to see you. We were talking before before we go back to the Ravens game, looking ahead to the Steelers. We asked the question before, where does this upcoming game rank in terms of most anticipated regular season games since the team's been back in '99? Where does it rank for you? I mean, it's got to be near the top, right?
Well, it's right up there. But when I look back to 2020, that was another season where some of these games meant everything in the world for the Browns to be able to make the playoffs. So that was another season where, you had to have these almost must-win games if you wanted to achieve your goals. So that was a season. But other than that, there haven't been many seasons where the Browns had everything, on the line, or many things on the line. So this is absolutely huge. Once again, if they want to go out there and plant their flag and seize the moment and win that AFC North.
Mary Kay, what can you tell us about Deshaun's ankle?
I saw him limping, times when you guys probably couldn't see that. There in person, I saw that it was bothering him during the game. I saw him walk out in a walking boot. I got a little bit of video of that. So, yeah, it's an issue, but I don't know how much of an issue it is by the time we get to Sunday. Maybe he'll be okay by then. We're not going to know a whole lot about it until we get out there on Wednesday, tomorrow, and he kind of tells us how he feels and how he's doing, and if we see him still in the walking boot. But at any time your quarterback suffers any kind of an injury, it is a concern. So it's something to keep an eye on this week.
Mary Kay, how did they – I keep forgetting his name. What is his name? The left tackle?
Jerome Christian.
Jaron Christian.
How the heck did they get him to play so well in like 3 days?
Well, he has played for Bill Callahan before. He was drafted by Washington in the 3rd round when Bill Callahan was there. So Bill Callahan has a familiarity with him, and he has 16 starts under his belt. So this is a player who's been around. He is a 6-year veteran. And those guys, the game has slowed down for them a little bit, and they know what they're looking at. So I would say that was it. He has experience, and he is well-versed in the Bill Callahan way of doing things.
Mary Kay, I need to ask you about my favorite Browns player because he left the game with injury, Denzel Ward. Do you have any update on him? Will he be fine for Sunday? And luckily it wasn't a concussion.
Yeah, fortunately it was not another concussion because that would have been his 5th as a Brown, and that's just way too many. So it is a minor neck injury, believed to be like a neck strain at this point. But from everything I understand, he should be okay. It's not, something serious. And of course, we know he will do everything he can to be out there in this big football game on Sunday. So he underwent an MRI yesterday as well. But, it's nothing too bad right now. So good for him because they will need him on Sunday.
DeJuan Jones, obviously, we're looking at his status coming back. Juan Thornhill got banged up in this game, Mary Kay. What's David Bell, I guess? What are the latest on those guys and maybe anybody else we're still forgetting about injury?
Good one too.
Well, you know what? I remember. Yes, I do remember talking. We talked to DeJuan Jones on Friday, and we asked him about this Pittsburgh Steelers game, and he said he wasn't 100% sure that he would be able to be back for this game either. So, we're just going to have to see how that goes. And I think that this game is more important to have your 2 tackles really at the ready and stout because of their tremendous edge rushers. The Pittsburgh Steelers have better edge rushers than the Baltimore Ravens did when you're talking about TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. So you need to be on point at the tackle positions. So the Browns are really hoping to get DeWand back. And again, we'll know more about that tomorrow. As far as Marquise Goodwin, that's a concussion. So, when we get out there, we'll figure out if he is going to practice or not. And then Juan Thornhill, he also walked out in a boot with a calf injury. Sometimes, though, when you see a guy walking out in a boot on Sunday, they're fine for the next week. So I know that all these guys are working really, really hard to get back, and I'm sure some of them will be back.
Mary Kay, after seeing these performances by Deshaun Watson up until this point, how confident are you that he can actually lead the Browns to a Super Bowl?
I'm pretty confident. I think that this is a football team right now. When I look out at the Cleveland Browns, I think this is a team that can beat anyone. I really do. I think that all they have to do is get into the tournament, and I think there are a lot of teams in the NFL that would want no part of the Cleveland Browns, especially defensively. So, I just think anything can happen, and that Browns fans should go ahead and get excited. And I know it's a roller coaster ride. One week, you think, oh my goodness, the sky is falling. The next week you think, my goodness, they can win a Super Bowl. But I think on balance, this is a team that there's no reason why they can't beat anyone in the NFL. I can't think of a team out there where they would not have a chance to go out there and win the game. And we couldn't always say that in previous years, but we can say it now. And one of the reasons we can say it is because they do have Deshaun Watson. And if PJ Walker were starting the rest of the year, I don't know if I would be saying this. But the fact that they have Deshaun back, and I think Deshaun is extremely hungry and motivated to go out there and accomplish his goals, which, of course, are winning a Super Bowl. So now I think they have an elite quarterback that can match up with their elite defense. And I do think the sky is the limit for this team this season.
Mary Kay, you've been around on this team. You've been around the rivalry with the Browns and the Steelers. And, of course, the Browns and the fans and people are going to be hyped up about this. The players are going to come out and say all the right stuff. Just one game. Next of every game, the next game is the most important. But you got to tell it like it is, Mary Kay. This to me is one of the biggest games, the Browns-Steelers, the game I can remember. Where does this fall in for you, given that you've seen this rivalry and the importance of this game specifically?
Well, just specifically, this could mean the difference between winning the division and not winning the division. And if you win the division, you can get home field advantage and all kinds of great things can happen. It's the avenue that you want to take into the playoffs. So it's an enormous game from that standpoint. Because the Steelers are the only team in the division with a 2-0 record in the AFC North. I mean, this is a tiebreaker situation. You need to have this. You've already been beaten once by the Steelers, so you want the head-to-head tiebreaker, and you need the division tiebreaker. There are so many reasons it's an important game, and it could also be, by Sunday afternoon, it could be a battle for first place in the AFC North. I mean, think about that. First place in the AFC North after 10 games. Cleveland Browns. That's what's at stake here. It's huge, and the players know it. They're really good at playing at home. So I think, the Browns have that going for them. They're tremendous at home, and they have a score to settle here. They lost 26-22 in Pittsburgh. They kind of got their butts kicked there a little bit, and there's going to be everything to play for on Sunday.
Mary Kay, what was your favorite play from this past Sunday's game? I mean, it was a ton of them to pick from, but which one is the one that was like, you know what, there they go?
Like you said, there were a ton of them, but I almost think it was the 16-yard run by Deshaun Watson because he went out there on a gimpy ankle and he said, I'm going to strap this team on my back and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And it doesn't matter that this is killing me. I'm going to run 16 yards for a first down and really, really help Dustin Hopkins get in position for this game-winning kick. So that's the one I'm going to give it to.
Mary Kay, we've seen the Browns not only get their ass kicked in the score of the game, but get beat down physically so many times over so many years by the Ravens and Steelers. And it feels like the worm is turned, right? Like that game, that play where Jerome Ford ran and the entire offensive line pushed him down the field. When David Njoku takes Geno Stone and picks him up like he's Michael Orr in The Blind Side throwing the kid over the fence. I mean, he picked him up basically, threw him 11 yards down the field. The Browns used to get pushed around by these teams all the time, and they've said enough, and that has stopped. And that to me was those two plays were my favorite because it showed the toughness that this team has that they haven't had in the past.
It's like a blocking slide.
Yeah, there's definitely a toughness going on, and you're right. The Browns used to get pushed around, and I think sometimes the Steelers and the Ravens still think that they're dealing with the Browns of old.
Yes.
But these are not yesterday's Cleveland Browns. These are today's Browns, and I'll tell you what, I mean, this defense stacks up, obviously, with any defense in the NFL. It might be the best defense in the NFL. It is the top-ranked one. It might be the best. Now, they're going to have to go out and prove it again against one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have to show that, they're not going to back down to TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Cam Hayward and all of the great defenders that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. So they have another kind of statement game coming up. But I'll tell you what, this is a defense that Cleveland Browns fans should be really, really excited about and proud of. And as I've mentioned to you guys before, it's the best one I've covered.
You mentioned that it does feel like this is a different team. It feels like there's a different culture. Let's give credit for that. Where does it go? Is the bulk of it Jim Schwartz, and then you dole it out to a lot of the defensive players? What's the impetus of this culture change?
It can be spread all around, okay? I'm going to start with Kevin Stefanski. He took this team to the Greenbrier for team bonding and camaraderie, and I really feel like a lot of it started there, where they really developed a kinship and a brotherhood there. So that was that. Then they did the same thing. They went to Philadelphia, and they spent 4 or 5 days in Philadelphia, and they got really close-knit there. In the offseason, Deshaun Watson was hosting offensive passing camps, and they were going to Puerto Rico and doing a bunch of things together. So the brotherhood had started in the offseason, and it has continued on. And then you bring in a Jim Schwartz and a Bubba Ventrone, and these guys have really instilled more of that culture. So I think it's widespread. On top of that, you bring in players. That just have this inherent leadership about them and a fire and an energy about them. And before you know it, you've got, a team that's playing with their hair on fire. And that's what's going on here. When you bring in the Zadarius Smiths and the Obo Okoronkwo's and the Juan Thornhills, and you throw them into that defense, it's like throwing gasoline onto a fire and seeing it just take off. I mean, these guys are having fun together. They're cheering each other on. They're playing together. And I think there's something very, very special about this football team.
Mary Kay, James Prochet, like 2 weeks ago against Arizona, he looked like, okay, we finally have an impact player on punt returns. And then obviously the big fumble, thankfully they were able to make up for it. But we can't have that bad fumble. Are they going to let that go because he showed some good stuff the week before and stick with him there? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. They don't have a ton of other candidates right now. So, they might have to stick with him a little bit. That was very, very difficult. I said after the game, he's a former Raven. I said he finally made a play for Baltimore. So,
wow. Ooh, Mary Kay. Killing him.
But I was just kidding. No, James has done some nice things, and I think they'll stick with him. And I think he's going to put that behind him. There were a lot of special teams things that did not go right in that game, and they've got to clean up those errors. You cannot be a liability on anytime that special team steps there. You have to do something good or great. You've got to create good field position. You can't fumble. You can't miss an extra point. You can't get 12 men on the field penalty. Oh. You can't do those kinds of things. You've got, it was an up and down special teams. I mean, you had a blocked field goal. That was great. You got the game winner and those kinds of things, but you cannot have all those other mistakes.
Mary Kay, you've been covering this team the whole year, and they went out and got Mike Ford for special teams purposes. I mean, I think he's a really good gunner and things like that. But he had to step in last game at corner where he had a nice hit on Lamar. He had the pick. What can you tell us
He also
about?
gave the touchdown on Odell.
Stop talking about. We stay positive, boy.
Good and
What
bad.
can you tell us about Mike Ford? What have things that you've seen? Were you surprised that he was able to do these type of things?
You know what? He's just another one of those guys that they brought in that brings a lot of fire, a lot of energy, a lot of leadership. He's just one of those guys that just runs through a wall every single day. And he's out there obviously doing the best he can. And yes, occasionally you will get beat one-on-one by Odell Beckham Jr. because Odell is he's a 3-time Pro Bowler and he's going to make his plays. But, Mike stepped in there, did a nice job on defense, and he's been a star on special teams for the most part this season. Great addition by the Browns.
Mary Kay, one of the guys that I've just been enjoying watching, and it's just more about his story and his play on the field. You go back, you look at Kareem Hunt. He wanted the long-term extension, didn't get it. They end up, bringing him back. You end up bringing him back after Nick Chubb goes down. And his trajectory of what he's being brought to the team is it just seems like he's bringing toughness. He's bringing his personality to the game. And, I'm comfortable when I see Nick Chubb going in on short yardage plays because I know Kareem Hunt is going to get them 1 or 2 yards, especially on the goal line. How has his attitude been in him being back into the fold, especially playing for his hometown team, which I think he really, prides himself for doing?
Well, I'll tell you what, he's the touchdown maker. That was the 5th game in which he has scored a touchdown. And when you get him on the goal line, he's going to get in there. He's going to pound it in there. He's a bruiser, and he forms a nice 1-2 punch with Jerome Ford, who's more of your home run hitter. So they have found a way to accomplish the running game, and they're doing a really nice job. And it's kind of fun to see Kareem have an opportunity to go through what he went through, to be out of football, once again, not knowing if he's going to get back in, and to be here for his hometown team, knowing that they have a chance to make it to the playoffs and possibly the Super Bowl, which is what he wants more than anything, to win a Super Bowl for his hometown Browns. So that kind of heart and grit and soul and energy is exactly what this team needs.
And Mary Kay, let's wrap it up with some love for Jerome Ford, because I know on this panel, myself 100% included, I was done watching Jerome Ford. I wanted to see Pierre Strong. I still like Pierre Strong, but Jerome Ford, by far his best game. He was fantastic yesterday or Sunday.
Well, the thing that you have to remember about Jerome Ford is that he suffered a high ankle sprain just a couple of weeks ago. That is an injury that sometimes keeps a player out of action, especially a running back out of action for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe even longer than that sometimes. And he hasn't missed a beat. I mean, I was shocked the week after that where I went out to practice and there he was going individual agility drills and looking really good. So you have to give him credit for showing up. Availability is so vitally important. And now you're seeing him getting stronger and better.
Thanks, Mary Kay. Good stuff. It's a lot of fun when the team's winning, isn't it?
It is fun. I think it's going to be a really, really cool and fun next couple of months.
Nice.
I hope you're right.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Mary Kay.